The topic for tonight is peacemaking. And this is going to be done in 3 pieces. So I'm going to start tonight. We're going to continue next week and 1 week past that through the month of November for a couple of reasons. One, because there are 3 really distinct phases of peacemaking that I want to talk about. And also because my commitment in this space is that we're going to do about 30 minutes of presentation and a little bit of meditation. And then we're going to sign off, and anybody that wants to stay and chat and visit, we'll have some community conversation for anyone who's interested. But I really want this to be something that you can do on a Wednesday evening early in your evening and in a relatively measurable short time so that you can get a little lift and go on with life and not feel like it's overly challenging after a weekday full of work. So this quote came across my desk, and I want to read it to you again because most of you responded to it. It says this: peacemaking doesn't mean passivity. It is the act of interrupting injustice without mirroring injustice. The act of disarming evil without destroying the evildoer. The act of finding a third way that is neither fight nor flight, but the careful, arduous pursuit of reconciliation and justice. It is about a revolution of love that is big enough to set both the oppressed and the oppressor free. So when I read it, one of the first thoughts that came to mind for me is, how often am I the oppressor? Where in my life do I stand as the oppressor? Because it's very easy, I think, to look at peacemaking through the eyes of what's wrong in the world that we're out in judgment of. And a little bit more rare that we actually ask ourselves when we are the oppressor. And that will be what we talk about in our 3rd section, how it is that we oppress rather than being oppressed and when that happens, and how we can recognize it in ourselves. But for tonight, what I want to talk about is making peace inside here before we try and make peace outside of ourselves. And there's a lot to unpack there. How many of you, just by a show of hands, are struggling with inner peace? Okay. And that could be, you might be struggling because there are a couple of wars on the planet. You might be struggling because of politics, especially since we just came off an election. You might be struggling because of a particular injustice that you're addressing. You may be kind of in an inner war with yourself. There could be something going on very personally with you. And you could be feeling lots of things about that. You might be feeling frustrated. You might be feeling angry. Maybe you're feeling exhausted by it. Sometimes what we're feeling when we are feeling that unpeaceful or not peaceful place inside of us, some of what we can feel is hopelessness and fear. You might be feeling afraid of something. So I want to talk to you about the fact that it's true. Let's be, for tonight, spiritual realists. Let's not play in the field of just we're going to imagine this away and it's going to become something different. But let's actually bring ourselves into the body with this and really settle into this physical form, because we have to reconcile the material world and the physical world and bring those both together. So let's settle first. Notice yourself in your body, actually really feel yourself in there, and recognize that we have a lot of lofty ideas when we talk about peace. We have a lot of lofty ideas about what we're supposed to do and how we should do it. But what happens inside of our body when we're craving peace is that we are uncertain, we're uneasy, we're fearful. And those are all things that happen in the body. And when they happen in the body, they have a very unique kind of response. They put us into fight or flight. fight, flight, or freeze actually are the three options that we have to respond to feeling fearful, hopeless, uneasy, not at peace. And our world right now is a little bit overwhelming when it comes to that ability to be in fight, flight, or freeze. We have so many things going on that put us there that we could be there almost all the time. We kind of can be in adrenaline overload. And it's kind of been that way since at least the pandemic. And maybe before that, because politically we've had a lot going on prior to going into the pandemic. But let's just start at the pandemic, when we had to be afraid of opening our front door or bringing groceries in or having somebody breathe on us or our own children or our best friends or the people that we loved, the people who would come home from a job they had to go to. We were afraid for a good extended period of time. We were afraid about our very mortal self and whether or not we were going to survive this plague, what this plague was going to be, how big it would be in the world, how it would impact us. And nothing really has happened since the pandemic to help us take a deep breath and relax and let that go. Because we still have COVID. It's still dangerous. We have vaccines and things we can do and ways of isolating ourselves and ways to treat this, but it's still real. And then we moved from that into other stuff. We were almost immediately warring on the planet. We've had massive fires, massive tornadoes, massive hurricanes, earthquakes, all kinds of natural disasters happen since the pandemic. We have economic strife that is the result of having shut down the economies around the world. And we have massive amounts of grief underneath the skin that we're all feeling from everything that we've been through. Then add to that a couple of wars, more political upheaval, and maybe you can begin to understand a little bit of what's going on in the bigger world. All of that is moving through us. And it's a lot to take on. And I know even as I say it, and I actually considered whether I was going to walk through all of that with you, I know even as I say it, you can probably feel the weight of that on your shoulders. You can probably feel some of the tightness in your chest that comes from just stopping for a minute and recognizing how much has happened in a short few years, how much we've all walked through together. But I want you to be aware of it. And I want you to be really aware that we're not feeling safe and that there's reason for that. That when everyone on a screen like this raises their hands, when I ask how many of you are lacking peace inside, and everybody raises their hands, that tells us something about the state of the world that we live in, about what's going on for us. And I operate from a position of believing that we are all interconnected, that we connect through the mind of one holy center. You can call it God or Great Spirit or universe or love or whatever you want to call it, universal mind, mass consciousness. There are lots of ways that we can name it, but we are all connected through that. And everything that is happening is moving energetically through us. And so we've done a really good job of learning to kind of isolate. Maui didn't happen to me. It happened way over there in the Pacific Ocean, that fire. I wasn't there. What's happening in the Ukraine didn't really happen. It isn't really happening to me. It's happening clear across the ocean. Right? But these things, what's happening in Gaza right now, these things, we're seeing them, we're aware of them, and what we choose to ignore, but what is true, is that we're feeling all of that. And then we're feeling all the things that go on in our own lives, our own health issues, Maybe we have issues going on with our children. Maybe we have issues going on with our spouse, or uncertainty around our jobs, or economic uncertainty of our own. Maybe we are dealing with scarcity in one area or another of our life. We have our own personal life buffered by and influenced by all of the things that are happening around us, that are put in front of us every time we turn on the TV, open up our phones, or get behind this screen. So I say all of that to you so that you'll recognize there is nothing wrong with you. Chances are what you're feeling in terms of your own unrest, that this is the most natural thing you could possibly feel in the world we live in right now. So when we say, I'm feeling a lot of anxiety these days, there's a lot of anxiety in our world right now. I'm feeling really uncomfortable in my own skin. Yes, we are feeling uncomfortable in our own skin. We're feeling uncomfortable on the planet. It's important that we are aware that we can we get to choose how we name that. We can choose to recognize that feeling and take it on as though it's something that's originating only in us, that we're experiencing it alone, and that we're the only ones who can do anything about it. We can use it, in other words, to isolate ourselves from everybody else. Or we can look at it and recognize that we're not isolated at all, that this is happening to all of us together, and that we can help each other through it. So there are lots of areas of this to talk about. Tonight, we're going to talk about peacemaking inside. Next week, we're going to talk about how we move through injustice and those things around us that feel disconcerting, that we don't know how to respond to, or when to separate empathetically and when to connect empathetically, and how to have purpose when the world feels just a little bit insane. So what I want to do tonight is invite you into an exercise that will help calm you. And this is an exercise you can do anytime. So when we go into fight or flight, which happens so much more often than you recognize in the world that we live in today, when we go into fight or flight, our nervous system reacts. Some things happen in our body. The very first thing that happens is our consciousness slides to the back of our head into the reptilian brain. And the area at the front of our brain, the prefrontal cortex, where we use logic and reason, that kind of shuts down because it's not necessary for fight or flight. If there's a bear coming at you, you do not want your brain to go, should I stop and respond? Maybe I could talk this bear out of it. You don't want to have that happen. There's a very good reason that the front of our brain shuts off when we go into fight or flight, because we don't need to think through it. We need to instinctively respond. So when we get to where we're using words that say, I'm anxious, I'm uncertain, I'm in fear, when we build ourselves up as we feel this uncertainty in our body, this anxiety in our body, we move ourselves into that adrenaline-driven kind of fight or fight place, and we can't think as well. We can't think as clearly. And our body, a lot of things happen in our body. Our breathing becomes shallow. Our digestive system stops working. The digestion is not necessary, which causes all kinds of discomfort in the body. And our oxygenated blood goes to the large muscles so that we can run or we can hit something. And we are numbed when that happens. Our sensations in our body numb out. So you might be feeling like you're not connecting with people very well. You're not thinking very clearly, and your body is just not doing what it needs to do. All of those are healthy responses to fight or flight. So we can't think ourselves into calm and centered. When we're in fight or flight, our brain is not this front part that is necessary to think ourselves into calm and centered, doesn't work very well. We have to do this in a different direction. We have to start at the body and work our way back to the brain when we want to calm ourselves down. And we can do that by considering all the different aspects of our body, what we see, what we taste, what we touch, what we smell. We can then move to our emotions and notice, what are we feeling, and breathe into those emotions, breathe our way back into the body. And after we've done those things, we can actually begin to slow down enough and re-trigger the front of the brain enough that we can start to think our way through. And that's the exercise I'm going to take you through right now. So I want to invite you to just, as you're ready, make yourself comfortable in your chair. And we're going to do an exercise to bring ourselves to a calm and centered place. So I have given you a whole bunch of things you can think about that can make you anxious. Bear with me for a minute. I want you to think of something that you've been feeling uncomfortable about. Just allow yourself to go there. You don't have to go all the way down the rabbit hole, but just let yourself have that one little moment of, whew, this is there for me. Notice what it is. Let it be what it is. And once you have that thought, go ahead and close your eyes. And if you feel comfortable doing so, take a nice deep breath in through your nose and exhale through your mouth. So we're going to begin with a bottom-up approach, starting with the body and the senses. I want to start by inviting you to bring your awareness to your physical body. Just take a moment to scan your body from your feet all the way up to your head, and just notice any areas of tension or discomfort, any place that feels tight. You can stretch that area. You don't have to try and change anything. Just observe and acknowledge that this is your body, that it belongs to you, that you are inhabiting it and responsible for it and able to be in it, that your body right at this moment is a safe place to be. And as you notice your body, allow yourself to breathe, inhaling and exhaling. And as you do, notice the rise and fall of your breath in its natural rhythm, letting go of any tension or any discomfort, and just using your breath to allow your body to relax. You might notice that you feel a little heavy in the chair. As you breathe, let your shoulders lower a bit around your neck. Feel free to stretch and bend your neck as you need to. Notice how much sensation you have in your body. Where are you feeling and where are you numb? Move into any area that you feel dissociated from. Maybe your knees have been a little sore and you haven't been paying attention. Let yourself move into your knees or any part of your body that feels like it just wants to be noticed. And as you do that, bring your attention to your senses. Besides the sound of my voice, what can you hear? Just listen to the sounds around you. Maybe you hear the hum of the room, the hum of the heater, Maybe you hear voices in another room, a car going by your house, or even your own breath. And take a moment to notice as you're listening, what do you smell? What do you smell in the room around you? What is the fragrance available to you? Just notice it. You don't have to change anything. And as you do that, notice, is there a lingering taste in your mouth? Maybe it's toothpaste, maybe it's dinner, maybe it's something you ate recently. Can you taste anything? Allow your attention to come to your body. Notice if you feel the fabric of your clothing on your skin, or your body setting in the chair. And with your eyes closed, notice if you see any colors or shapes behind your eyelids, any sensory experience in your vision behind your own eyelids. And now that you're in your body, let yourself shift inward a little bit deeper, moving into the heart space, opening to your emotions. Take a minute and check in on yourself emotionally. How are you feeling right now? If you had to give it a name, it might be tough, but what does it feel like? Do you feel relaxed? Do you feel tight? Do you feel at ease? Can you begin to find a word? Just one word. Perhaps you're feeling settled. Perhaps you're feeling even a little compassion for yourself. Perhaps you're recognizing your vulnerability. Or perhaps you're recognizing your strength. Just notice. Just one word. Imagine that your heart is like a warm and gentle light in the center of your chest. And as you breathe in, imagine the light expanding, filling your chest with a sense of love and compassion for yourself. And as you exhale, allow this love to move out beyond you to your entire body, letting it flow to any area of tension, any place that's uncomfortable, soothing and healing yourself, allowing yourself to move into a more peaceful place, knowing that in this moment, right now, you are completely safe, completely and fully safe. Let your attention turn to your thoughts and notice any thoughts that get in the way of you feeling safe. Let them float away like clouds across the blue sky, just floating. You don't have to force anything. Just allow any thought that needs to be moved out of your place of being to simply slide away. Don't try and change or control it. Allow yourself to breathe in and out, imagining a sense of spaciousness in your mind and visualizing a clear and open sky, free of clouds. Returning your focus to the calm, open sky of your mind. By now, you should begin to feel calmer and more centered. You are your own best caretaker. This is a very easy exercise. You can come back to this any moment you need to center. It took us all of 6 minutes. It's a very quick and easy way to bring yourself to peace. And as you feel ready, take a nice deep breath in through your nose and out of your mouth, and gently open your eyes. In the Beatitudes, we are told, blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be known as the children of God. And I love that. And I want to speak that into this space, regardless of what your faith tradition is, because there's a really strong message there. It doesn't say, blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be the savior of the world. Or blessed are the peacemakers, for God will drop the answers to the world's problems in their brain. Doesn't say any of that. It says that the peacemakers will be known as the children of God. It tells us that coming to peace is a thing that we do from the innocent part of ourselves, from the child part of ourselves, from the vulnerable part of ourselves. That to come to peace and bring the presence of peace into the world, we have to do that with the awareness of the child part of ourselves, which is for many of us the most difficult part to access, because we have grown up. We spent our whole childhood working to grow up and put away the things of children. But as we move into this week and play in this field of personal peace, I want to invite you to just consider for this 1 week what it is to find the peace of a child in your heart. And what gives children peace is that they're in the present moment. They're not thinking about whatever happened yesterday, and they're not worried about what's going to happen tomorrow. They're being present in this moment, and in this moment right now, you are safe. So when we come back next week, we're going to take this from our personal experience of peace out into community. How do we as peacemakers move into community? How do we take the presence of peace into community? And how do we, in the same spiritually real way, move into conversations and interactions around things that are unjust and intolerable, while still remaining peacemakers at heart? I really appreciate you being with me, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Those of you that are in the room right now and would like to stay, I would love to have continued conversation with you. And those who are watching the recording, I hope I'll see you next week. Thanks for spending this time with us.